show. And yeah, I know it's been forever, but just been dealing with a lot too much stuff right now. Since the last time we had an episode, we had an episode with Marco. You know, the episode that where the live studio audience all knows that he's gay. That's a great ending to it. Gonna go with it, try to start on a sour note really. Since the last episode, just had to deal with so much crap lately. October mainly. My car hit. My wonderful insurance didn't help me, so I had to basically scrounge to try to, pay off the repairs. I ended up getting it 2 months later. It's nice to have your car again. Of course, the person that hit me was a hit and run, and they never found who did it, so they just ignored my plight and whatever. So that bastard, I not only had to blow my own money and others, the bastard got away smiling about it. But to start off the month of October, my father passed away. And I know you've heard many others on YouTube talk about having the same issues, like James A. Janice with dead meat. My interviewee today had this happen a couple years ago. And it's still, I don't know, I'm not really feeling sad or anything. It just still just feels weird. I don't know. I just don't get it sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go right on a limb and say, I know we didn't have the best relationship, but still, it's like, I don't know if I miss him or what. I mean, I do. There's days I look at my phone for something and want to tell him about it or something, but then he's not there. Like I said, it's just very weird circumstances. Yeah, the holidays are very strange. But, and I'm not gonna say this was like, that is more important than my dad, but I think like beginning of around the time we did that last episode, one of my interviewees on there was Steven Lambert. I was trying to plan a part two. Unfortunately, he passed away at the beginning of September. And it does suck because, if I didn't take that whole year off, maybe I could have had a part two with him. I had a funny intro plan and was going to talk about more movies. But I just want to say to my friend that, I do miss him. My dad as well. I do miss him as well. And yeah, people are right. You just never know until it's too late. Yeah. So like I said, we start out on a sour note. Also, I did talk about like one of the times where I was ripping Trump people. I realized, you know what? Yes, you guys are ridiculous, but I'm fired to find some of the liberal elite are just as ridiculous. So when it comes to the crazy, you need to vote, your focus should be on the vote, who cares about your light vote for this year, I'm voting for nobody. Yeah, if like Brewster's Billions, if there is a none of the above option, I will vote for that. Because one, I do not like Donald Trump. He's an asshole. Yes, maybe when he was in power, there were some things that might have been great, like gas prices and prices of other things. We had a lot of the racist out, and I do stand for rights of things, but the thing is, yes, I'm glad, but that there's people out there for LGBTQ rights coming out. I'm glad for them. But now this time with Biden in office, the psychos have come out. I'm not gonna get into it, but it's just been crazy. I just look at this news and just sigh and just want to pull my hair out or wish I lived in Japan or Ireland. And then right now crazy with these damn protests. Listen, I'm not standing aside in it, but I'm really going to say this. I don't think it's right that you're going after Jewish people around here that likely have nothing to do with fucking Israel. Like my friend's wife getting clipped by a car, one of her neighbors, letting her writhe in pain in the parking lot, and then claiming of the plight of Gaza as why he didn't call an ambulance. It's fucking stupid. I'm not saying I'm against anybody there. I'm just saying this bullshit where we're going after people at home who have nothing to do with Israel whatsoever is ridiculous. I'm going to stay out of it because you know what? This is a fun show. We're about movies. We're about TV. We're about entertainment. Politics just gets me irritated. And I want to be happy for you guys. Because you remember when I did the Western show, I was just so fucking down. That's the other thing why I took the year off is I mentally wasn't in it. Which sucked because, I could have did the talk with Steven. I like talking with Steven. Then I was able to get back by talking to Stephen Gillen, best-selling author and guy who turned his life around just like Michael Francis. My first big interview. And I do hope I get very soon get Amber to do her Batman episode. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get into it. Well, maybe we might talk about it whenever I get to talk to her. But, Amber's had her share of light. But like always, she pushes through it, and if Amber does listen, she might not find it. She might not think it's true. But if anything, seeing Amber push herself to get through these plight and get her dream in it, I do find it inspirational. And, I think I push myself to do it because of seeing how she does it. Well, anywho, what's the subject of our days today is everybody knows the great YouTube channel Good Bad Flick. He shows movies people might consider bad, shows them they're great, tends to rip on them a little bit, and it's pretty funny. I know I love a lot of his mystery science theater type humor. And the host of our show is a guy by the name of Cecil. I don't know his last name, but I just call him Cecil. But he's a very funny guy, very cool guy. And that's the subject of our interview today. I got to talk to him. Yeah, I mean, there's some interview like to it. I do ask some questions. I do get some answers. Mostly we just bullshitted about movies, which I like conversations like that. Like if you heard my conversation with, Larson or Viking Samurai. We just bullshit. That's what fun. I know Michael and Steven Gillen, I did have to ask questions to interview because I wasn't part of that life that they both were part of, but I think it was fun to get some cool stuff and, hear some cool things. That's kind of interviewing like. I did try to get interviews with other people. Unfortunately, I got turned down a lot. Like some stunt women I think I've talked to, some either didn't respond or liked my message, but, and one did say they weren't doing interviews, which I haven't seen because I know a Bond actor. I did ask his manager said he doesn't do interviews, but then he was on a podcast the very next day. So yes, they give you the runaround. I don't hate him for it. Some of them actually are really busy. 'Cause I know it was kind of a stretch asking Deadbeat, but I didn't really. I mean, if I got an interview, that would have been great. But hey, things happen. It is what it is. And plus, I mean, he's got podcasts. He's talking to Oscar winners. So maybe in the future, when I sell a script, he might talk to me about my movie. So and I'll happily let him do a kill count on there. But all serious and kind of goofy stuff aside, let's get to our interview with Cecil from the tone of the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
We're getting to actually hear your voice talk back to me when I listen to your episode.
Yes, it's wait, it's interactive. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, welcome to my show now.
Yeah, so I'm on the other side. How are you?
Yeah, I am good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Well, that's good. I wanted to ask curiosity, as a personal question, but what type of karate does your son take?
He takes it's kind of a variation. Right now it's like taekwondo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the guy who is the instructor is awesome. He's kind of become like a personal friend of like my family. He's personal friends with Cynthia Rothrock, Michael Jai White.
Oh.
He's been involved in a lot of karate movies and stuff over the years, and he's just really, really a super cool guy. He's awesome. So I'm glad to know him, and I'm glad to see that like he's training my son. Well, him not personally, but in his school, and then my wife actually is taking karate and kickboxing there as well. So I'm raising a whole family of badasses over here.
That's cool. I'm a second degree in Taekwondo myself.
Oh, cool.
And I just got my first degree in Hapkido back in November, so.
Oh, awesome.
It was a good day to happen. It happened right on my dad's birthday, but fortunately he wasn't there to see it though, so.
Oh, that's always rough.
Yeah, but you made a comment about this actor being involved with movies. Maybe you reviewed some of them.
You know what? Surprisingly enough, I've seen movies that he's kind of indirectly been involved in, but I haven't seen the ones that he's kind of been involved with. Like he's never been in them, but he's always kind of done like some coordination and stuff for some of the older ones.
Yeah.
But we're going back to like the like 80s ones. A lot of the bizarre like God, I can't even think of any of the names of them off the top of my head, but he's been involved in some of the more weird ones that will be on DVD but probably won't get released on Blu-ray. But I mean, it's just really cool. The biggest thing with me was that it's funny. He knows Cynthia Rothrock, but he has a real hard time with like Cynthia, so S sounds. So he just calls her China O'Brien. And
Oh.
and my wife's always like, that's not her. And he's like, she gets it. It's like it's her most favorite, most famous character. So if you're gonna call her anything, I always thought that was a big kick. And my friend, do you know Ollie Harper?
Heard of it. Heard of the person.
Yeah, Ollie is another YouTube reviewer guy who's kind of he's doing more kind of outside the realm of YouTube right now, but he's editing a movie. He just put out a documentary about Street Fighter, the video game, and he's currently editing a action movie with Cynthia Rothrock and a few other people. So yeah, he's over in England somewhere, and he's a good dude. So
wonder if it's Black Creek movie.
Yeah, not oh God, hold on, let me just see the name of it. Not the it's funny, not the Michael Jai White, Cynthia Rothrock. A lot of her movies are currently getting Blu-ray releases right now from I think 88 Films. That's been really awesome because she has some killer movies that have not been really readily available in the US. So nice to see them getting like brought over and really getting the attention that they should deserve. All right, no, not New York. What the? Oh God, wow, she got a lot of movies. Is it The Last Kumite? Yeah, I think pretty sure this is that one.
Heard of that because actually another YouTuber friend I actually acted in it. You might know his YouTube handle is Viking Samurai.
No, actually don't know him.
Okay, well, if you see him in there, he's kind of like he kind of has like his fighting style is kind of almost like Van Damme, but he's got like the Stallone body though, so
Ah,
he's got the mixture, I guess you could say, of the '80s guys. So
well, bringing that back, hopefully. Yeah, this one's
yeah,
it. The Last Kumite, and that's the Billy Blanks is in there too. That's gonna be cool.
yeah, I heard about talk about it a lot because he has like everybody in there, like Matthias Hughes and the guy who played Tong Po in Kickboxer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
Matthias
why.
Hughes is freaking huge.
Oh
He's
yeah,
a big dude.
I think I remember seeing the Scott Adkins interview with Lauren Avedon. And he was talking about that No Retreat, No Surrender 2, and he said how that he couldn't use a stunt guy 'cause of his size. Nobody could double him,
Mm-hmm.
so he had to basically take all the beatings and stuff. So, but from
Scott
interviews I
Adkins
see
is
of him,
awesome.
he was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, oh, like all right.
Yeah, he's been doing this for God decades now. So, I think he's used to it by this point. So,
Oh
yeah, I'm
yeah.
looking forward to seeing this one. This is going to be cool.
Oh, that's cool. Mention YouTube videos. I was curious. What made you start this channel?
It was kind of like I didn't really intend on doing it the way that I did. Essentially, what happened was back in like 2009 was when the reviewerverse, as they called it, like was kind of blowing up. You had Angry Video Game Nerd and
Mm,
Nostalgia Critic, and all these people were more or less emulating them. And the problem was that they were coming at it from the wrong perspective. They were all just they weren't doing anything creative. They were just, hey, let's take a quote unquote bad movie and just make fun of it. I have friends like all throughout the country, and I had said, hey, I'm a professional. Well, I guess I still am, but I was a professional editor. I was working for a college out here. I was like, if I did a video show where instead of just flat out making fun of bad movies, I would take movies that I really enjoyed and have fun with them, like, a little mystery science theater style, but
yeah.
not just flat out say that this is garbage and all this. And they were like, yeah, sure, that'd be great. So I originally started on something called Blip TV, which was a competitor to YouTube back then.
Hmm.
And I put my first video out in 2010, and I just started doing stuff on there. And I started noticing I was getting comments from people who, like, initially it was just my friends. Hey, that's funny. Hey, that's great. I love this movie. And then after a while, I started getting comments from people who I didn't know. And that's when I was like, oh, like, well, maybe other people want to see this. So I started porting the stuff over to YouTube, and it took off fairly well over there, but still not really anything substantial. Like I was not making any money like at all. So I started doing that for a while. I was putting it up on Blip, and I was putting it up on YouTube, and because Blip had a thing where you could, once you uploaded to Blip, it would automatically upload it over to YouTube, and I was kind of sending it over there. And it after a while, I could see that Blip was dying, like because Blip got bought by a company called Maker, and then Disney bought Maker, and Disney bought Maker for like their video game division, but they really had no interest in Blip, and so Blip just kind of died. And there were a lot of people that weren't prepared for that, and I was like, you people, how did you not know that Blip was going to go away? Like, they basically finished out all their contracts, and they just shut the whole thing down. So I had already kind of was building up. I think by that point I had like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, but it was still, I mean, 10,000 subs is it's not a small number, but I mean, it's in YouTube numbers, it's still relatively small.
Yeah.
So I started doing, focusing more and more on YouTube, and then I had a video go viral. My WTF happened in movie posters, and when that blew up, I was like, oh wow, I might be able to make this a career. And it actually couldn't have come at a better time, because in 2015, the school that I worked for, they shut down our division, laid off 165 people. And so I came home and I went to my wife and I'm like, look, if ever I'm gonna make this work, it's gonna be now. I'm like, I've got severance time, severance pay and whatnot. I think, I could really, if I do this hardcore full time, I can make this work. And she was like, okay. And so I just started doing it full time, and I've been doing it since April. Actually, no, I'm sorry, June of 2015. I've been doing it full time ever since.
Oh, yeah, you say 10,000 is a lot more than what I got, but hey, I'm building.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not, hey, man, everybody's got to start somewhere. I mean,
Yeah.
PewDiePie, Critical Drinker, all of them started with zero,
Yeah, it's
and
true.
it's a matter of just luck and talent and just, persistence and, continuing with it and building. I think that there's a lot of people that, probably could have been bigger, but for whatever reason, they stopped or they had to stop. 10,000 is nothing to sneeze at. It's a big milestone and something that a lot of people don't achieve, even some folks that have been doing it for a while. So they all start somewhere. So
Oh, no, it's true because I do a paper route, so I sometimes will play my YouTube on the Bluetooth and I'll listen to like reaction videos, stuff like that. And then one time I was out and I wanted to look up a clip from Nothing But Trouble, and then I happened to see titles Nothing But Trouble. This production, I'm like, what video is this? And that was your video review of it, and I was like, huh. And then I seen this whole channel, and I'm looking at this whole video list. I'm like, these movies, wow, let me see these. And then I found some movies later like White Ghost, and I was like, wow, these are actually really good movies.
that's cool. Yeah, Nothing But Trouble was a video that, as of currently, is I don't know how to say it. That was the longest it ever took me to do a video because I had been trying to, like, a lot of my exploring videos. I will try to contact the people involved if there was just no information out there. Like, there's a lot of movies where there's enough archival information that I can kind of put together a video of its history, but there's some movies like Nothing But Trouble, for example, that there's just nothing out there aside from some superfluous fluff pieces before the movie came out. And so I had
Yeah.
been trying for years to get a hold of somebody to talk about it. And finally, I ended up getting a hold of, ironically enough, one of the people that worked on the movie contacted me. And I was like, oh my God, I love your work and I love, this movie. I want to talk to you about it. And so consequently, that kind of broke where I was like, okay, I could talk to him, I could talk to other people. So I got all that information and I was able to put the video together and release that. And it went over really well. And I was glad that I was able to tell that story because I think that it's a movie that I understand why some people don't like it, but I still think that it's very underappreciated. And I was really glad. So it took me not constantly working on it, but it took 6 years before I finally was able to put that one out. So I'm nothing if not persistent.
Hey, oh, that's good. Not, I watched, like I said, I watched that video because I remember seeing it once because I always got into film since I was younger, and I watched it one time in college. A movie channel I had was Showtime, so they would show odd films about afternoon, and that came on. I'm like, what the hell movie is this? Got like everybody in it, and I'm like, and I asked people about it, you see this movie? They all give me the, oh yeah, that's great, or they give it the, oh yeah, that movie, and I'm like, but then I watched it and I realized, yeah, basically Chase is on autopilot when you watch the film.
Oh yeah. Well, he just the biggest jerk. I really think that the movie may not have ever been a beloved film, but I think that it may have been received a little bit better if they had somebody else in the lead because Chevy Chase just he doesn't want to be there and you just get the vibe that he's just fighting and he every day he was just fighting with Dan Aykroyd and just being a real spoiled jerk and
Yeah.
everybody there was just not happy with him. Like after everything was over, John Candy, was super cool with all the crew. Demi Moore was super cool with all the crew, with the director, with everybody. And it just everybody was just really, really friendly, except for Chevy Chase,
Yeah.
and he made it miserable for everybody else.
Yeah, I agree with that, but you know what? I think I said, karma came back to bit him, and now after that, when the '90s rolled around, nobody really cared about him.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like a name that people recognize, and I'm sure he's incredibly well off. He's got
Yeah.
money coming from multiple productions and whatnot, residuals. But I don't, in general, most people know about his BS. And so if they do want to hire him for a project or a film or a TV show or whatever, a lot of them will just be like, leave your ego at the door, dude.
Oh yeah, because one of my I always have a group of directors like are my favorites, and one of them is I always loved was Tarantino films. But when Tarantino was talking about, oh, Chase is the best, better than these guys, I'm like, that's the only time I won't agree with him on that one.
Well, I think he's probably coming off of watching him in Fletch and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny that in the right role he's great,
Oh yeah, he
but
is.
still personally he's still a jerk. So I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't think that Tarantino has ever worked with him. I could be wrong. I do wonder if he would change that tune if he
Get to
worked with
work
him
with
and
him.
saw how how much of an idiot he was being.
Yeah, no, no. Out of all the projects that he was heavily involved in, no, Chase was never on there, on any of them. So I mean, he probably just, like I
Mhm.
said, a fan of his from his movies. Oh yeah, yeah, of course, for his movies. I think Christmas Vacation's like one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Mhm.
I mean, like stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying that. Yes, I know. I guess there's a number of people I will separate the art from the person. I know they're a dick, but they do great work. So I'm not gonna.
Oh, absolutely. Although he makes it hard, but then it kind of like, well, he's just a jerk. He's not like a Harvey Weinstein. So it's a little
Yeah,
easier to kind of
yeah.
separate that, you know?
Yeah, because I admit, like, I'll still watch, if I see it on TV, I'll still watch, like, LA Confidential or Usual Suspects, but you still kind of watch it with that, when you watch it, though.
Yeah, it's like, well, it was funny. I was doing a stream, God, a while ago, and we were watching. Kevin Spacey had put out that video where it was a Christmas time, and he was
Yeah.
acting in character from that TV show that was really huge. I'm totally am blanking on it because I never watched
Oh,
it, but
House of
every
Cards. I never watched it either, so I
House
know
of
what it's
Cards,
about.
yeah, House of Cards. But he was playing he was basically doing the character, but really he was speaking as himself as the character. It was very odd. But I'm
Yeah.
watching it and I'm like, man, he's a piece of garbage, but he is a good actor, man. I'm like, I am captivated by this. I can't stand that he's so good, but he's awful. So yeah,
Yeah.
that really kind of got me. And everybody was kind of in agreement. They're like, look, they're like, yeah, I think we can all agree he's terrible, but I think we can all also agree that we're captivated by every word that he's saying.
Like it was funny because like I said when I mentioned watching some of your videos, and I remembered seeing like old ones. Well, when I had seen your first video on Masters of the Universe, I had just heard about the accusations about Gary Goddard. So I'm thinking to myself like, I wonder if he'll talk about this later. Then I saw your redo version, and then you mentioned it. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, because when I did the original version, God, I don't even remember when I did it, like 10 years ago or something.
think so.
And when I was doing the updated version, like probably maybe 2 days before I put the video out, I think was when I heard about the accusations, and I was like, oh, I'm like, well, this is kind of an elephant in the room. I do at least need to address it. So I put
Yeah.
in the little like couple sentences where it's like, look, this kind of just came out, and I had one person that was mad because they're like, you didn't have to bring that up, and I'm like, like I kind of, in me being thorough, I thought it was necessary to at least mention it. I didn't say that it was true. I didn't say that it was false. I didn't paint it either way. I just basically said what the report was that was out there was that he was accused of this. There are some people that are coming out that are saying it's true. Some people coming out and say it's false. So it's like we shall see. But I kind of left it at that.
Because I graduated, well, wow, it's about 10 years ago, but I graduated from Columbia College in Chicago, and one of the times it was at one of the media buildings. We did have Anthony Edwards there, and I remember he was happy, nice people, and then I didn't see the shirt till I saw the guy leave, but the guy had a Masters of the Universe shirt, and I seen Edwards' face go from like this smile to this blank look, and I just thought like first I thought, oh God, he must really hate that movie. And then when I heard all this, I'm like, oh, that's why. Now I feel like an ass for thinking that.
Yeah, that was a thing. So I do wonder. I mean, that's one of the things that makes me think that there's something to this because it's kind of a shame that
Yeah,
Hollywood has become just this hotbed of awfulness, and that
yeah.
they've gone out of their way to defend not good people,
Oh
and
yeah.
so that's why whenever there's a big thing where there's some celebrity or whatnot, and they're talking down to the audience, well, you need to be. It's like you work in a cesspool, so I'm
Exactly.
just going to be over here being a good, normal person. And, you sit over there and cover up or whatever. I'm sure something awful will come out from you at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard because I had a friend get to go to a 5-week course in LA, and they got to actually visit the actor studio. And it was one of the times they were trying to record inside the actor studio interview with Ben Affleck, and they didn't at the time we didn't know he had relapsed, so he was kind of a little buzzed,
Oh, no.
and he was kind of criticizing somebody's acting. I guess he had seen a workshop. This is what you need to do. You need to act like this, and the guy just was not taking it. Said, yeah, I'm sorry, but I saw Geely and Forces of Nature. Don't just criticize my act. I was like, oh shit. And he kind of had that like kind of dumbfounded look, and he goes, oh yeah, good, but he kind of good point there. And then he almost fell out of the seat. That's what people were like, like, okay, so he's drunk, I think. I
Yeah,
was like,
it's a shame. I think both Ben and Matt Damon, they were just regular dudes who blew up huge.
yeah,
And so whenever a lot of stuff comes out with them, I always kind of feel bad. Like Matt Damon seems to have taken things a little bit more in stride, but I think Ben, people have been a lot more critical of him. And like people kind of forget that he went essentially from like Kevin Smith movies to Good Will Hunting,
yeah,
just to monster blockbuster films. And he
yeah,
did Armageddon and stuff. And I mean, in that jumping that high up in the industry chain, it's got to mess with you mentally, because you're going from probably a one-bedroom apartment somewhere in California, and all of a sudden you're making $20 million and you're acting next to Bruce Willis. There's a lot of pressure that's put on you, and I think that a lot of people were overly critical of him. I've always kind of had a soft spot for him. I always thought he was just a regular cool guy that managed to make it. I think that does he say dumb things? Yeah, but again, that kind of goes hand in hand with, he's not, he hasn't been somebody who has been striving to be an actor his whole life. He really just kind of ended up here.
yeah. There's like a lot of movies people might hate of his that I like, because I like it was back from, it was, wow, God, 20 years ago. Jeez, I'm feeling old now. It was this movie Paycheck. I watched it. I thought, what's wrong? Like, what did the critics think about this? This movie was excellent. I love this movie, and it's like, that movie was sucked. I'm like, what movie were you watching? I was on the edge of my seat watching this movie.
Yeah, Paycheck was a lot of fun. Critics in general, that's not the kind of movie that they usually like, but it did seem that that was one of those movies where people went in and badmouthed it, and I'm like, all right, look, this isn't Ishtar here, okay?
Yeah,
It's a competent, fun action film with some pretty awesome, excuse me, some pretty awesome sequences in it. So I was, I'm with you. I'm like, why would anybody have an issue with that? I should probably do a video on that at some point.
oh
That would
yeah,
be fun,
definitely,
because
yeah.
I inadvertently, I do know I have a contact with somebody who worked on it, so that's one that
Oh, cool.
I would be able to get the info on pretty easy. I don't know if it would be, because God, who directed Paycheck? It wasn't
John Woo.
was it John Woo? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to get a hold of John Woo, but I will probably be able to get a hold of some of the people in the production staff, and maybe like one of the smaller actors or something. Yeah, I'm not going to get
Oh
a hold
yeah.
of. And because the thing is, actors, I've gotten a lot of interviews with actors, and they're good people, but not necessarily for my videos, because
Mm.
they don't know a lot of they just basically know like what their part was, and they maybe have some little anecdotal stories, but unless they were an actor that was also a producer or something, they don't have any involvement in the production. So a lot of times I'll be like, did you know how much what the budget was? And they're like, no, I'm not sure. And it's like, well, how much did you get paid? And it's like, well, I can't really say. All right, well, did when did this person get hired? When did and so they give me like a lot of just little stories about them. So it's like, if ever I had a movie that I wanted to do, and the only person I was able to get a hold of would be an actor, I just would not be able to get like a complete story. It would be just a lot of anecdotal fluff that would probably be good if I did some sort of compilation video where it's like, oh, here's a bunch of stories from the set, as opposed
Oh
to
yeah.
the making of something.
Very true. Yeah, but even like I said, back to Affleck, like I'll admit, because I've always been a comic book reader, and one of my favorites of Marvel growing up was Daredevil. So when I heard he was cast, I wasn't happy, because I had seen some of the movies he had done. I mean, I liked him in Kevin Smith's films, but I was like, him as Daredevil, are you serious? But then I watched it, I was like, wow, he was actually good.
Yeah,
Same with,
Daredevil was really really underappreciated, because they put the studio edited version out
yeah,
in theaters, and I'm
yeah,
assuming you've seen the director's cut.
I own it. So of course I've seen.
My uncle is like he's the guy who actually got me into comic books. He's like super into comics, and he did not like the Daredevil movie at all. And so I told him, I'm like, look, you have to watch the director's cut. It's a completely different film. He's like, I'll take it your word. He's like, I don't see how it did. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, I am an editor. I know like power of editing and how it can. And he watched it, and he's like, I couldn't believe it. You're right. He's like, this is a legitimately good movie. It's a completely different film. They put scenes back in order. They put in that complete subplot that really tied the whole ending. Because in the theatrical version, there's no reason why the police are coming to get Kingpin. Like, the whole reason why they're coming to get Kingpin is the whole courtroom subplot.
Yeah,
So it's like, so if you watch the theatrical version, Daredevil goes in and fights Kingpin, he wins, and then the police just show up for no reason. Like,
yeah.
so
Like we're gonna believe Bullseye sold him out or something. Yeah, right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, but they don't ever say. So yeah, it really doesn't make any sense. But Yeah, the director's cut of that is terrific. It's a completely different film. It changes the dynamic of the entire. It cuts out the sex scene, like which like kind of like it keeps Daredevil as like the dark, sad character. Like he doesn't get
Yeah.
the girl. He does, but he does succeed in everything
Oh, of
else
course.
except for like his own personal life. So
Yeah, 'cause I remember when I watched it at theaters. I mean, of course, I was excited when it came out, and then I remembered I watched the making of, and they showed this big epic fight scene in the bar, big epic fight scene against Kingpin. But then I watched the movie. I'm like, that was very tame, but all right. But then when he sees Elektra at that party, he says, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm thinking to myself well, sorry for what? Was he bad in bed, or what was wrong? It's like then it's like, but when you see the director's cut, like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah, it's a much better film, and I've had a soft spot for it. I've actually I did a video. I'm gonna do an updated video on it. Hopefully this year. I was gonna do it last year, but last year just kind of got away from me. But
Yeah.
I did that. I was recently on a friend of mine, Scott Weinberg. He has a show called Overhated, and we talked about Daredevil on that, and we both just gushed over how much we enjoyed it. So we did that, and then we did Doom, which I don't like as much as Daredevil, but I agree that it is an overhated film. Like every movie that he does on there, he talks about something that is overhated, and it's cool. He gets a lot of he's somebody who's been a movie reviewer for like ever, and so he gets a lot of like famous people to do the show. Like he had John Cryer on to talk about Superman 4, and
Oh, wow.
so yeah, it's pretty funny. I know he had Joe Lynch on to talk about something, and so yeah, he gets a lot of people on.
There's been when I met some actors at conventions or expos, they call it now. But I did mention like when I actually got to meet Carl Weathers almost a couple years ago, and I got I got him to autograph a fight poster of Rocky 2 because I have Action Jackson on DVD, but I forgot to bring it. And I told him, yeah, I forgot my Action Jackson DVD, and he was like, oh, you have it on DVD? I'm like, yeah, I love the movie. And he seemed very appreciative I said I loved it. So maybe, and I also seen your episode. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good.
I love Action Jackson. What a killer movie, man. That is really just big, bombastic fun. That if maybe it was like a year or two earlier, I think that would have had action blockbuster written all over it. I don't know why that wasn't a huge hit. Because I had just watched it again recently, and it's fun, man. It has everything. The cast is great. The action scenes are great. There's explosions and one-liners. I mean, it is everything that you want in an 80s action film. And
Yeah,
I don't know why it was not a bigger hit.
may have to look at when it was released because it could have been just a release time. There might have been other big blockbusters. People kind of fell under the radar a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. That happens from time to time. You'll watch. Why did this movie do really bad? Oh, it opened up against like one of the big ones. Why did this movie do bad? Oh, it opened up against this little movie called Star Wars. Oh,
Yeah. Why did UVF or UHF do bad? Even though it was Weird Al. Oh, look at the summer it came out with.
yeah, it's just everything was a blockbuster. Like that's what kills me when you go back and you look at like some of these summer releases, and it's like, 1980 whatever. Oh, it was Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's just like all these movies that are now just revered and loved classics,
Yeah.
and so yeah, they're all just opening up against each other, and it's crazy. So yeah, it's funny and it's sad because then you see like there are some films that they should have been hits, but
Mm.
we just didn't know they opened up against whatever, and they just got loud.
I've always heard people over and over, oh, listen to Rotten Tomatoes, or hey, listen what the Razzies saying, and finally hearing you on your page saying, how basically out of touch the Razzies are. I'm like, when you brought up the whole thing about, Jim Carrey having that giant year of '94, and I'm saying he's like the worst star of the year. I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's one of the major problems with Rotten Tomatoes is they are I'm sorry, not Rotten Tomatoes, the Razzies.
Yeah.
They are just they go after the low hanging fruit. They don't go after like the genuinely bad movie. Like there are movies out there that deserve awards for how terrible they are, and yet the Razzies will always go after the really easy safe part. They'll go after
Yeah.
what movie, going back to Ben, what movie did Ben Affleck star in? What movie did this person? And they'll just go after them in real easy targets. They won't go after the big, genuinely bad films, and you end up making massive blunders. Like the soundtrack for the thing, or I'm sorry, not the soundtrack, the score for the thing getting nominated for worst score. Something like
Wow.
that. You're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly. It's like what? I mean, yeah, I know it's like you. It's weird when you watch a Carpenter movie and he's not doing the music, but it's still Ennio Morricone. Like, wait, are you serious?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just somebody, whoever reviewed that, just somebody who does not understand movies, and hopefully they were taken off of the thing. Like, I think the concept of the Razzies is great. I think
yeah,
that but I think that people were taking them a little bit too seriously, much like
yeah,
Going into Rotten Tomatoes. People were taking Rotten Tomatoes too close at their word, and I'm like, look, it is way too easy to game the system. And as we found out, that there were some reviewers that were authorized reviewers or whatever. They were taking bribes essentially as low as $50 to basically give a movie a good review and to fudge the score.
wow.
And that came out last year, I think.
Oh
And
yeah, I heard about that.
ultimately that should have been the downfall of that site. But
Yeah,
because the news cycle moves like 800 miles an hour. It was here and gone, and now it's just back to, oh, well, this movie is fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, so this movie is rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's like, how can you trust that that's for real?
yeah.
I'm like seeing so many garbage movies on there that got like impeccable ratings and vice versa. And I recognize there are some movies that I don't like, but I recognize that they're good movies. If it's something that I don't like, but I see that it got good reviews, I understand. But there's some movies where you fundamentally recognize, okay, this sucks. Like this is
Oh yeah.
just terrible, and it'll get like a 90% rotten rating, and it's clean rating or whatever, and it's like, no, I don't believe this, and vice versa. It will be something that is genuinely fun, and it will get like a rotten rating. I'm like, all right,
Oh
this
yeah.
is garbage.
Yeah. Going back to your video, because I always like, especially like when you were talking about The Mask, you brought up the actual comic, and somebody actually did think asked Jim Carrey if they made the script like the original comic, like how he is in there, where he's more violent, but he's more still comical. Would you have done it? He actually still said, yeah, I'd still would do it.
It would be really neat if they did. I know they're in talks doing like a serious readaptation of The Mask. And the thing is, Jim Carrey is a genuinely versatile enough actor, and he's got that rubber face, even without the prosthetics. It would be absolutely insane if they were to do a readaptation of the comic book, do it dead serious, and have Jim Carrey play this version of The Mask too. Like, I think he could pull it off, but
Oh
I
yeah.
don't. Any studio would have the guts to make it, simply because I think they'd be afraid that audiences would think that this is a sequel and they wouldn't understand. Like, they'd have to really push. No, this is a closer adaptation, but the general public isn't going to get that.
Yeah.
They're going to be mad. But I
Yeah,
think that would
exactly.
be amazing. Like, because then you'd have two sides of the coin. You would have, because I love the original. I
Oh yeah.
still like. I love what they did with it. I think that it is so far removed from the source material, but it's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
It does become its own thing.
There's movies where they do the source material. They'll say, "Oh, it's moved from the source material," but there's times where I watch the movie and thinking, you know what? I kind of like what they did with the movie better, because I think there's a couple of, I think Mark Millar comic they did his movies, and I like what they did with the movie more than what he did in the comic. I think it's Kick-Ass. I think he did with the movie. I like the movie better.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. I kind of like them both, but I do see a lot of the fundamentals that he laid in the comic that they did
Yeah.
do just to in the movie. I think the first Kick-Ass is really good. The second one I like, but not nearly as much as the first one.
Even though he doesn't want to talk about it, I think when it comes to the second one, I think despite it was a brief screen time, I think Jim Carrey stole that movie though. So
Yeah, Jim Carrey. Going back to Carrey. Yeah, he kind of, it was weird. He kind of was doing like a fire marshal Bill almost.
yeah. Oh, I know I saw it, but yeah, because when I see the trailer, and my dad's like, who the hell is that guy? I said, that's Jim Carrey. He's like, that's Jim Carrey. Like, okay, I actually would like this. There's times he loves his old work, and times he'll be like, okay, it's kind of all right. But I mean, I know when it comes like serious work, he loves he loved the Truman Show. know that.
Yeah, that was I think that was his first like serious departure, was the Truman Show. Where I did think that that was very good. I thought it was a unique idea, and I thought that it was acted very well. And
Yeah, still put his like little idiosyncrasies, but it helped show that he's really like losing it when he realizes that everything's fake.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but but it wasn't Ace Ventura. It was just kind of guy a little bit off.
I think they did say that about Cable Guy. It was written more darker, and it was supposed to end with him actually dying, and he liked that. So when they said gotta shoot it to where he comes back and he's still gonna be creepy, that's why he kind of was not all being goofy at the end. He was kind of like, oh, okay, fine, whatever, because he liked the end where he actually died. He's like, that's fine, let him die. He's destroying the TV tower.
Yeah, let it be, because I mean it was a dark comedy. That one, I don't know if you know this. Do you know who was originally the Cable Guy?
Oh, is it Farley?
Yeah, it was Farley.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
heard
like,
that. Yeah.
man, would like that. Like, because I do enjoy some dark comedies, but I did not like the Cable Guy. It just didn't work for me. There's a couple of laughs, but overall, I was more irritated than anything. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. The Farley version would have been it was a straight up comedy. It was more slapstick. He was just a big needy guy, and I think that would have been funny. But then after Farley, I don't know why Farley dropped out, probably because it was the drugs or what have you, or because I think he was still alive at the point.
Well, Cable Guy came out with I think Cable Guy came out like 95, 90. He was still alive, I think. Might have been scheduling conflicts as well.
Could have been anything, and then Ben Stiller got involved and kind of changed it into more of a dark comedy, and then it kind of went from there. And Jim Carrey got all in on it. Being, I don't know, it didn't work for me, but it was a good experiment. I mean, and there's a lot of people that do like it, so it did very well. So it's what it is.
Yeah, no, because I think he had that story where it was like 10 years before he post dated like a $10 million check, and then on the day of he got offered $10 million to do it.
Wow.
So he said like he thought, oh, I have to pay $10 million, and then think the next day was about to come up, and then he got a call saying, hey, it's Ben. I guess he had met him or somewhere, and he had said, I'm doing this movie, and we want to offer you this. And he was like, how much? Like 10. He was like, oh well, I guess good thing I posted that check. I thought I actually heard your channel mentioned on the podcast about the Neon Maniacs. So I think the guy who started it, said the same thing, that he loved your episode, but he felt like you're trying to, go with what info you had. So I think he had more info. Explains why he did the podcast series.
Yeah, I at the time when I did Neon Maniacs, I did that. Do you know Harry Partridge?
Heard of him.
He's an animator on YouTube, really super talented, great dude. And kind of been internet befriended him over the years. He did I commissioned him to do some T-shirts for me and stuff. And anyway, he does just fantastic work. And but he loves he loves a lot of the same stuff that I do. He's got a soft spot for like cheesy bad movies and stuff. And so he had asked me, he's like, oh God, I don't even remember how long ago, 8 years ago or something. He's like, dude, have you ever seen Neon Maniacs? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you need to do a video on this. He's like, this movie's amazing. So he sent me a trailer, and I was like, holy crap, how have I never heard of this movie? And so I managed to get an out of print Blu-ray from this movie, and I watched it, and it was striking how good looking it was. Like the characters were all these really insane, in-depth, well done characters. They each had no story. It was like there's no reason why there's this guy, he's a samurai, this guy's this, but they all looked fantastic. And the story was just this really unusual mishmash of different, horror. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, what happened. And I looked into it, and I couldn't really get a hold of anyone. And so I really was just kind of going off of what little information I could dig up. And so that's why I said the only thing I know is that they essentially they had a big ending planned, and they just ran out of money. So that's why it's
Well, I think he's doing episodes in seasons, like a show. He did say that he talked to a lot of the line producers and that, and he said that one day they show up to set, we're like, oh, go home, we don't have money.
Yeah, that you'd be surprised at how many times that happens. Or you get, all right, today was the last day that we were paid. made. So at midnight, even if we're in the middle of a scene, we're packing up and going home. And so that like the clock is ticking at that point. So they're trying to get all their shots in before the
Yeah.
money runs out, essentially.
I think they did say, reading the old script, that water was going to be essential with taking them out, because they did write that scene where they're on the attack of trying to get the bodies out, but when they hear the thundering, they freak out and they run.
Yeah, I think that was going to kind of play into it. I think that it's a shame though that I am not a big fan of remakes, but I do think that there is a place for them, and I think that place is taking movies that had really good ideas but just were not executed properly. Something
Yeah.
like Neon Maniacs.
Oh
So
yeah.
if they were to take Neon Maniacs and actually make it the way that it was supposed to, I think that would be really cool, and that would be a good counter to that. It would be like, okay, well, we took this movie that it like I like it, but I can see that it's a very flawed film,
Yeah.
and so it would be interesting to see. Okay, here's what they really intended to do. Instead of taking something like Total Recall and then just remaking it, it's like you're never going to do better than the original. Why do
Yeah,
we
yeah,
even
exactly.
try? You
Yeah, they
know,
kept talking about, like, oh, we're gonna follow the book and everything, and I watched. I'm like, this is Arnold's movie. What the hell is
yeah,
this?
it's the only thing they did differently was they didn't go to Mars. They had the whole thing where they had the big elevator that went to the other side of the planet. But like other things, there were dialogue lines in that movie that were not in the book, but they were in the original movie, and it was like I don't know to the depths of that. I do know there was the remake of Harry where the director had said that we are going to do this movie and it is going to be a direct adaptation of the book. And so he did that. He did a direct adaptation of the book. And then when the movie was done, the producers watched it and they said, this is nothing like the movie. And he's
Yeah,
like, well, yeah, this was the book. And they had people go in and reshoot large portions of the movie to make it like
like
the
Carrie, De
original
Palma
movie,
Carrie.
like the De Palma Carey. And so when the movie came out, all these people were mad. They're like at the director. They're like, this was not, this was the same movie because
Yeah,
it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't my movie. Because you can go on the IMDb and look at all the people that their scenes were like they're credited, but their scenes were not in the film. It's insane the amount of people that
oh yeah,
had their scenes cut because it was a completely different film. It was like the book,
yeah.
and so yeah, dumb stuff like that happened.
I always hate that, especially like all those, like you mentioned in a bunch of episodes, where they come in and they change all this stuff, and people say, "Well, what happened to the movie I watched?" And the studio, the producers are like, "Well, blame him." It's like, and a lot of them say, "Yeah," to go along with it, but a lot of them say, no, you."
Yeah, a lot of them will just kind of they'll do the press junket and be like, "Oh yeah, this movie is great," and then after that, then they're like, "All right, this sucks." Like Dakota Johnson right now. I'm not a big fan of hers, but I do respect the fact that she's coming out and saying that Madam Web was garbage. Like she basically has come out and said, because they're like, "Well, why did you sign on to do this movie?" And she's like, "Because I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to see what it was. I got the opportunity, and I said, you know what? Let's see what it's like to do one of these big superhero films." And she was talking about how the script that she read was completely different from what they ended up doing, and how it was just a big disaster, and she's not surprised that everybody hates it. And I have a lot of
Yeah,
respect for her for doing that. And a lot of people are like, well, she won't be working again. And it's like, she's Hollywood royalty. She's
you know.
Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith kid. Don't worry. She'll keep working.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was another. I had mentioned it when we talked about the email. Steven Lambert, how he had those couple great sequences, and he actually was a stunt coordinator on the train chase and the whole motorcycle chase in Last Crusade when they escaped. But the beginning part with River Phoenix, that he was the coordinator of it,
Mm-hmm.
and he had actually did. Then they actually got asked by Spielberg to do stunt stuff on. I think it was Always, and it was a fire stuff stunt. And he said it'll work with the stunt guys I got. Well, Frank Marshall said, let's do it with the firemen first. They did the scene. They totally just froze. The whole scene went to hell. And then when Spielberg said, what the hell was that? I said, well, that's Steven's fault. Blame him. And Lambert said, no, this is your fault. I told you this. And Spielberg yelled at Marshall about it. But then Marshall told Lambert at the end, you're never going to work on a blockbuster movie. I'll make sure of that. And he kind of didn't. So.
Oh, that's crazy. That
Yeah, I mean
sucks.
he still got stuff like smaller jobs here and there. I think he said that he got a job. He did get some stunt work on the sinking sequences in Titanic to the point to where a lot of stunt guys refused to work because Cameron was being an idiot, and
Mm-hmm.
other stuff here and there. But well, he thought it was over, whatever. And then I guess like 2 weeks later, James Woods was calling him like, "Hey, I got a movie. You're my stunt guy. Let's go." And it's like, "Oh, okay," because he
Yeah, I
was
think
like
if you
James Woods' main stuntman for like a lot of films. So
Yeah, if you get in good with some people, yeah, you will continue to work. And
yeah.
some people like James Woods are very loyal, so that's good. I've heard James Woods and Robert Davi, nothing but good things about both those two
Oh
as
yeah.
far as work ethic. Lance Henriksen's another one, like
Yeah.
incredible work ethic, very loyal, very friendly.
I forget if it was at a Wizard World or Fan Expo. I did meet Davi there. I recognized him right away. I kept like kind of looking at the corner of my eye, like, is that him? And finally, he looked over at me with his glare, like, if you're thinking who I am him. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me go talk to him to look more stupid. But by constantly just, just standing there looking ridiculous. And well, I went over and I asked him, like, oh, I thought Great Maniac Cop 2, and I said, is there funny stories for that? He told me the story you mentioned in yours about the Robert Zadar getting the Hawaii vacation, but not being able to eat nothing with the makeup. And he thought, oh, I'm gonna get a big burger and just piss him off.
Yeah, the cheeseburger. He would sit there and just eat the cheeseburger and be like, "This is so good." And for Robert Zadar with all his prosthetics on, and he was just drinking his meals. You know.
Those were good films too, and yeah, I think a friend did ask Bruce Campbell about that. I'm surprised you don't like the movie because I thought you were great at it. He's like, well, you know what, I like it now, and I'm glad you like it. It's just I was just not in the right headspace the time I filmed it. That's why when he did the second one, I'm like, kill me off immediately. I'll be there to die and everything. So
And also, the thing was, Bruce Campbell was not the household name yet.
yeah,
So killing him off was a shock, but it also was a little easier to do as opposed to a couple years later, where everybody kind of he's a figure in the horror industry and everything else, and killing him off would just be absurd.
oh yeah, exactly. He was another one that like he was getting well known here and there because of the Evil Dead, but when he tried to do a lead in something big, studio-wise, studios were like, no, we don't want to. Nobody knows him. We'll cast somebody else, and it's like, okay, there's no point to that.
Yeah, Sam Raimi really kept him in business for a long time, and
Yeah.
because the two of them, they've done some great stuff together. But I mean, he'll always be known for the Evil Dead stuff. He's done a ton of other stuff, but at the end of the day, people know him as Ash.
'Cause I know a lot of. I had a friend who, when he grew up in the '90s, he said that how Briscoe County Jr. was like popular. Then they decided to move it to Saturday night, and it was like ratings went down.
Yeah, I think that Briscoe County Jr. I like Briscoe County Jr. a lot, but I think that it wasn't ever something that was going to be a massive hit. Like I think I don't know if it was too early or if it was too late or whatever. It did not work for the audience at the time. And
Yeah.
now it's beloved, but that doesn't do them any good now because it's decades later, and like Lord Bowler is since deceased, and Bruce Campbell's too old for the role, and so
Yeah.
it's kind of a shame whenever you see something like that where it's like, I mean, at least it eventually found its audience, but you always got to feel bad that it didn't get the audience at the time. It's like, well, it's great, people love it now. Would have been even better if they liked it back then.
Yeah. Plus, the whole story of the series was him getting the guy who killed his dad, and then he did, and it's like, okay, so what do I do now? I think people were kind of like, well, he got what he was supposed to get, so what now?
Well, then they ended that and they did Jack of all trades.
Yeah. Hey,
Like, well, I'll just make another wacky character.
yeah, exactly. I always love Campbell and stuff, especially. But I did hear like when they did say like how they originally when Raimi was doing Darkman, they said he did say he wanted Campbell for the role. And they said, well, we'll approve the movie, but nobody knows Campbell. Let's pick somebody. You just got to pick a known actor. But then they picked Liam Neeson, who was still just as unknown as he was. So I'm like, okay. So you helped Liam Neeson out, but you didn't help Bruce Campbell out.
Yeah, that would be really weird. So I like Bruce Campbell and I like Liam Neeson a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of those odd things. You know what? As much as I'm not crazy about AI, I
Yeah.
always think, okay, wouldn't it be interesting if you could use AI to, all right, put Darkman in there and say, okay, make Liam Neeson Bruce Campbell, and it would be a bad out the other end. Like, would that change the film? I mean, it's kind of weird, and I don't. Part of me doesn't want that because I think that it's you're changing art, but on the other side, it's always interesting to see where that would go. Like, okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe if you put like Nothing But Trouble, you put somebody else in Chevy Chase's place, see
Oh
how
yeah.
the dynamic of the film change. And but again, it's not real. You're not putting that
Exactly.
person, putting the computer computer's interpretation of that person in there. And I don't know, that leads to a whole other set of arguments. But
Oh yeah, exactly. But it's one of those. It would have been great to see Campbell do it and actually get a career boost. But then actually, but if you he even admits if you watch the movie, Neeson was just too good in that role. He can't really top him.
yeah, well, what's interesting is in something like Back to the Future, where they originally did not have they didn't have Michael J. Fox.
Yeah,
They had
Eric Stoltz. I remember that. I seen a little footage of it. It would have been weird with him, but yeah.
that's the thing that's crazy about it is you see like they actually shot I think for 2 days and then Zemeckis was like, you know what, it's just not working. And but you could see that he was basically doing the Marty character, but it just wasn't gelling. And so it is cool to kind of have that. All right, well look, here he was doing it, so you actually get a little bit of a taste of that. Same thing going to Shrek. They had animatics with Chris Farley
Oh yeah.
doing Shrek, and so you could kind of see it's like, all right, yeah, this it's interesting, but no, this totally does not work. It's a good thing that they didn't, they went with Mike Myers because I love Farley, but he just was not right for it, and I think that Shrek probably would have been a mass bomb if he ended up doing it.
Yeah, because when you actually watch Shrek with Myers' voice, you think, oh, this is Ogre of that time. But if you hear it with Farley, you hear it's just Chris Farley being Chris Farley.
Yeah, it's just Farley do. I don't. Some people are not meant to be voice actors,
Yeah.
and so I think that's also one of the things that bothers me about a lot of movies where they'll get actors to do these roles instead of voice actors, and essentially what you end up getting is it's this actor's voice as a fish or as a monkey or something. It's the same thing. There's no effort put into it. It's just they're up there, they're just saying their line, and
Yeah.
they're not becoming the role.
No, it's like even if it's like a live action animal being voiced, like I watched on Disney Plus for like a month and then they took it off, but it was like some gorilla movie, but it was voiced by Sam Rockwell and he just didn't work. I thought like the zookeeper friend should have been Sam Rockwell, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like him as voicing this gorilla trying to grow up. It's kind of like this. He's not the right voice for this. I think he's better off as the zookeeper that takes care of him, because the guy is goofy, but he's serious when it comes, to helping his friend. I thought, okay, Rockwell would have been great in the part, but him as the voice of the gorilla, it's like no.
Yeah, I'm like right now with what's his name? Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt a lot, but I'm like, all right, can maybe we find another voice actor? Like, because it's like, does he need to be Mario? Does he need to be Garfield? Does he need is there anybody else out there that's doing voices right now? Because then he goes and he does the voice, and it's Chris Pratt as there's no difference. Like you could play a clip from one and clip from the other, and you wouldn't be able to tell which movie was with the same delivery.
Yeah, him as Garfield's kind of weird. I honestly didn't have an issue with him when I finally got to watch the Mario Brothers movie. I didn't have an issue with him. I was worried about Jack Black as Bowser, but then I was proven wrong when I heard him do it. Even though it's Jack Black, I had to have him sing in there, but still, I thought when he first talks in that voice, I'm like, wow, he's actually pretty good as this part.
I still hate Jack Black. I
Oh,
can't. I can't stand him.
no. So I
Some
must, you
people,
must.
no, it's fine. I know a lot of
That's
people love him. I get crap for it all the time, but I'm just like, he
No, no,
just
hey, you like who
does
you
not
like, you
work.
don't like. Like I said, I didn't mind Pratt as Mario when I watched the movie, and you're kind of like, oh, you could have picked the voice actor, which, hey, that's fine. I'm sure you probably love that scene in The Jackal then, right?
Oh yeah, where he just gets like obliterated.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm sure. Every time I read it, I was like, I can't stand Jack Black. I'm like, and then somebody one time said, I want to watch him die in a movie. I go watch the movie The Jackal, and you like Bruce Willis, so it's Bruce Willis, and then they come back, thank you for recommending a movie that made my day. I'm like, I love Bruce Willis, and I hate Jack Black, and he kills him. It's great. I'm like, every time I tell people watch this movie, you'll feel better.
And on top of that, the scene is kind of darkly funny, where
Yeah.
he's like, hold on, and he just start blowing parts
And
off of him. Yeah,
but yeah, when he blew his arm off, he's like, "Oh, I told you the script was off." I'm like, "That's
yeah.
hilarious." That even because there was a time my dad did find him funny, like like Orange County or something like that, or School of Rock. But then he got tired of him, and then I watched Jackal on TV, and he like laughed at that scene.
Mm.
Plus, he always thought Bruce Willis actually should have played more bad guy roles.
Yeah, I think he really he shines in not so much anymore, unfortunately, because of his his deteriorating health. But he's really good as a good guy. He's really good as a bad guy. I think that he's just a really versatile actor that yeah, we didn't. They didn't really give him a lot of bad guy roles.
Yeah.
Maybe a handful. As is, John McClane, good guy is all the, he's playing the everyman, 90% of the time. And but yeah, there were some times where it's like, okay, yeah, he's a good bad guy.
Oh yeah, I know. It does suck about that health things. I think somebody told me that when they got to be an extra on the set of Death Wish, they did say when he did the hospital scene, he was talking to the guy that played Hank from Breaking Bad, and he went to do a scene, and he got lost in the middle of a scene.
Uh,
Eli Roth said, "Take a break," and he said, and she right away she said, "Come on, we're going upstairs," and upstairs is where the stroke area was because they thought he had a stroke, but then they said no. I think that was the start of the dysphagia, though.
oh, that's just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, even watching that roast of him, you could see that he didn't respond to stuff right away. And I was like, at first I thought, was he just being an ass? But I started looking like it seems like it takes it like it's like there's a delay in him responding. So I thought maybe what's going on. But when I read about it, I'm like, oh, that's why he couldn't communicate it right away.
Yeah, it was taking, it takes a while to kind of process. He can't always, deliver the answers that he wants to.
Yeah,
So,
I know Simon Pegg said that happened to Terry Jones on that movie he did with the Monty Python guys. He said Terry Jones was directing, and like, one at a time they're like, okay, we're gonna go to this scene. He's like, oh, we did that scene yesterday, and he goes, look like, what scene are we doing? And it was like, and John Cleese is like, looked like all worried, like, uh-oh.
yeah, when somebody they start slipping, it's like they
Yeah.
could be fine for,
Yeah.
but then it's that thing. It's like, uh-oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
like,
well, we got into a very dark tone, but I do love your episodes. You do give off that like mystery science theater vibe with a lot of your reviews and stuff.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, they're one of my biggest influences. I grew up watching Creature Double Feature and Kung Fu Theater, and I've always had an affinity for just the underdogs of cinema, let's say. And then when Mystery Science Theater came around, I was like, oh, these are these are people like me. These are people, they love movies. They love kind of goofing on them, but like in a fun way. And so because when I would get together with friends, if we were watching something, I would make them watch something like Surf Nazis Must Die or something, and fun it were, and we're all having a good time. And so that always kind of was my thing. Like I wanted to come at these from a loving way. I'm just kind of having fun with it. I'm not, I'm in on the joke. I'm not, making them the butt of the joke.
I had saw the documentary about Canon Films, one of them, and I'd seen it. Like I thought these movies look ridiculous. I gotta watch them. And I remember watching the Apple, and I remember that scene of they're saying what, like thank you, what? I'm thinking to myself like, thank you, fuck off. And then I heard your comment, thank you, asshole. I'm like, it's like I loved. I was like, oh, that's great.
I actually got the guy, Love, Albert Love. But I'm totally forgetting his first name. But the guy who played Pandy
Oh,
in the film, he had contacted me, he sent me an email, and he's like, I just saw your Apple video. I wanted to say I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Alan Love. He's like, I saw it, loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Even though you called me a bird-chested wimp, I still was
yeah.
like, thank you so much for getting it. I'm like, I think that movie is so much fun, and I think that your character was just great in it. It's so corny, and we had a little back and forth, and he was super cool. So I always love when I get something like that, where you get somebody that worked on the film, and they're like, oh, you get it, and I had one, I did a video for the Terror at Red Wolf Inn, and
Hmm.
the lady who was in it, she had contacted me, and she was like, I appreciate you talking about the movie. I think you liked it. And I'm like, oh, I totally liked it. She's like, oh, okay. She's like, I wasn't entirely sure. And I'm like, I know it's a little kind of weird, but so she was funny
Yeah,
posting it.
yeah. Because I've told people about your channel, and I'd sent links to videos like, "Hey, watch this. This is great." And they're like, "Oh yeah, this is great." I think somebody got to meet William Cat, and they mentioned, they say, "Oh, we will have White Ghost." This guy did a YouTube video, and right away he knew your channel right away. He was like, "Oh yeah, I saw that." It's like wow, I'm glad people appreciate the movie.
Yeah, he's killer, man. That's funny how, because growing up, I knew him from The Greatest American Hero, and then
Yeah.
getting older, I start watching, like, I'm like, oh my god, he made all of these these movies out in the Philippines, like before he kind of exploded in popularity. And so it was great because I'm watching these films and he's all like young and jacked, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
I had a good time with those. And then in the '90s, it kind of came back around after he stopped doing The Greatest American Hero. He was doing a lot of like these very odd like erotic thriller movies with like
Uh,
Shannon, and so
hmm.
that was this is another another step in his acting evolution. So he's cool. I like him a lot.
I think my friend asked him about that. They said, "Was that did you do all those stunts?" He says, "Yeah." And then he mentioned that Jeep flip, but did say he still has. He said he still has issues with his hip today because of it.
Oof.
Yeah, he said when he flipped it, he felt. I think he did say he did pop something, and they fixed it, but they said here and there he'll get some like knocking pains or something like that. He knows it from there.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, back then they didn't exactly have I want to say not OSHA, but whatever the stunt people's union out over there. They
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine who did a ton of Corman films back then, and they would basically go into they'd go into town and be like, hey, we'll give you $5 if you let us light you on fire. It's like okay.
Yeah. Well, hey.
It,
I think somebody did a. I gotta find the link of it. If I find a link of it on Amazon or something, I'll send it to you an email. I think somebody did a documentary about
yeah,
the Serial
Machete
Santiago
Maidens.
films.
Yeah, Machete Maidens Unleashed.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I did, cause I know I see the documentary about Corman. I was like, and I, I loved that somebody said like somebody asked him like, you're a fan of Corman, like what do you say his particular just brand of films? Well, violence and naked chicks. It's like, yeah, like, okay,
Yeah, there was one, was it the Equalizer 2000, I think, where they needed to get a particular shot. So they got the cameraman. He sat on the hood of the car, and they duct taped him to the hood of the car, and they had the car going like 90 miles an hour as he's filming the sequence, and it's just like that is so dangerous. like it's and they're like, we were all young and we wanted to just make stuff and
oh yeah, because
on a
he was on the podcast with Rosenbaum. Robert Patrick told that story.
Robert Patrick did a bunch of those old a bunch of those old like post-apocalyptic Filipino movies.
Or the Rambo ripoffs too.
But like Robert Patrick, like his career started out there. They had a hotel where the actors of the crew basically lived year round, and they would just film movies and then go back to the hotel and go out and film movies and go back to the hotel. And it was I believe if I'm not mistaken that he met his wife on one of those.
Yeah, I think it was one of the Rambo ripoff movies he did.
One of the Rambo ripoffs, and I know, there was a lot of fraternizing because there wasn't anything else to do.
Yeah.
So they would sit, if they weren't filming, they were drinking, and just I can't even imagine just the absurdity. I'm sure there's all kinds of stories that they just haven't told simply because
Oh.
it's a little untoward.
Yeah, I think Patrick mentioned that camera guy. He did say even though it's cut out the audio, they did say while the guy was filming, the guy was like having the time of his life too. He was like, "Woo!" Like, and they said, "Okay." Like, they said, "Another take." He's like, "No." He's like, "Oh." It's like, dude, you're taped to a car going 90 miles an hour. You want to do it again? Like,
Why not? When are you ever going to get the opportunity to be duct taped to the hood of a car? Just so
yeah.
long as it doesn't flip, you'll be fine.
Because I gotta look at what movie I think they worked on, but they did say he got to meet Arlie Ermy out there. Arlie Ermy says like he's like, hey, there's this nut jobs camera guy, and we had type of it's like he said and Ermy said only one. I know 30 of those type of guys. It's like, oh, okay, but they said yeah, they said he remembered a guy like having the time of his life and then wanted to go another take, and it's like, dude, are you serious? I think even Richard Norton mentioned it too. Richard Norton's like, yeah, I was on this Corman movie, and these guys are fucking nuts. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did. Yeah, he did it. Actually, I think he did. I think Equalizer 2000 was his one. But yeah, Richard Norton did a whole bunch. And yeah, they had a good like staple of actors that were they already had a built-in crew, and they had their actors that they worked with and did a whole ton of films. And they'd sign them on for like 5 movies, and they would just blast them out over the course of like a year or two.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. You always notice that, like when you see all those movies coming out, it's like it's basically like, all right, guys, let's get together and put a movie.
yeah, I mean, I kind of like that though, because it's like you're getting all these people together, so it's not like you're incorporating a new thing every single time. So you're getting all of these movies together, and that's why they're able to keep a lot of the budget down, is because they're not reinventing the wheel every time they have to go make a new movie.
I think Corman was big like that in the '60s. Like he did a movie with Boris Karloff, and he actually they filmed early. So he said, "Hey, you know what? Let me shoot a couple days of this movie, and I can get Karloff for a scene." And he went and did that. And then when they called the actor back later, "Hey, we're gonna add on to this movie," they're like, "What movie? Like the one we did there?" He's like, "Oh, that was that was part of that movie." It's like they were confused.
Yeah, back before there was all the things like royalties and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Now it would be like, all right, pay me for this movie, pay me for this movie, yeah, it's a
yeah.
whole different ball game.
Uh,
So, on that note, I have to go.
Oh yeah, I was about to say I think that's all I really had to ask you, but I really love doing this. Like I said, I'm a big fan of your channel, and it was awesome that you were able to reach back and say, "Hey, let's do this."
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Yeah, when you put it together, let me know. I'll put it on my socials, and
Oh
people can check
yeah,
it out.
yeah. I'll send you the link. Yeah, and I think of anything cool story stuff that you might, I'll just send your way if I think of something. I know I definitely did say if you do any canon films, you definitely should read Steven's book because he has some good stories if in case of those movies you're doing.
Oh my God, I'm so sad about that. Like, his manager had sent me a copy of it, and I just was overwhelmed with stuff. And then he died. I'm like, God, that stinks.
Yeah, I
I'm gonna do a video, one of the videos that he did stunts on, and I'm gonna throw like a nice little tribute to him in there,
good.
because that just stinks, man. It's really a
Because
shame.
I took a year off in 2022. I just couldn't get the drive to do another episode. And I had talked to him here and there, and finally 2023 rolled around. Eventually, when he said, like, hey, when I'm done with this movie over here, because I said 4th of July, it was like, hey, 4th of July. He's like, hey, when I'm done with this movie, let's plan to do the part two. And then all of a sudden, I see his son posting, hey, pray for my dad right now. I'm like, what the hell happened? And then I seen Sho Kazuki on Instagram, his channel, posting about Steven passing away. And I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so
Yeah,
rough.
I know. I will say you should definitely do that. It's a canon Vietnam movie, that one with David Carradine, because he has some great stories about that one.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I will check it out. Yeah, I really am surprised they haven't done more David Carradine, quite frankly, because he's done
Yeah,
so many Corman.
that was during his time where he was getting Corman work, but he was just not doing the best. I think you mentioned that in a movie he had been at, he was likely drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, he was drunk a lot on that Vietnam movie, but you should really definitely read about the big inferno explosion scene that Lambert or Carradine wanted, and Lambert planned it out. And then when it happened, he walks in the frame thinking it'd be this big heroic shot, and Carradine walked in the frame completely naked.
Oh,
And it so they lost all that money, and they said that Golem Globus were like, no, we're not refilming that, so just move on. And Lambert was pissed, like, I gave all those explosions away and this for that thing.
oh, jeez.
But yeah, there's
So,
some good stories you read in there for if you definitely do some canon film.
yeah, definitely.
All
All
right,
right.
but yeah,
Thanks for
yeah,
having
thank
me
you
on, man.
for.
I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for coming on, and I'll wait for the next episode, and I'll link you this episode when it comes on.
Awesome, man. Take care. Have a good night.
Are you too? But yeah, that was our interview. And like I said, we just bullshitted a lot, talked about our stuff, his hatred for Jack Black. I like Jack Black sometimes. Like there's things I like him in, there's things I kind of just shake my head at. But you know what? Hey, we all have our opinions on things, and like I said, I don't criticize people for what they like. And so we talked about it, and we had some fun laughing about it. And like I have said, I found a lot of great movies watching his channel, which is what I talked to him about. But yeah, it was really cool. I finally got to interview him, and yeah, it took some time. But like I said, he's got a busy channel too. I mean, I was actually kind of surprised I was able to get him on there, and I was glad I did because of how busy his channel is. But it was awesome getting to talk to him, and I hope I get to talk to him and email him with more in the future. But like always, look forward towards his episodes at his show page, Good Bad Flicks. He always has some good content to show. It was a very interesting episode showing some kind of softcore porn episodes from the 90s, but hey, you gotta please some customers somehow, I guess. But overall, I hope you really enjoyed our interview. I hope you enjoyed getting to be back on the episode. I know it was a short intro, short outro. I just figured that basically the steak or sizzle of the episode was the interview, and we should focus on that. I am, like I said, say when it comes to mental health, yeah, I know I do have my good and bad days, and I'm sorry it takes forever with episodes because like I said, I get really busy with things, and just like I said, I can't get my head straight into it sometimes. But we're all like that. And you know what? All you gotta do is either just stay creative or reach out to people, and I'm trying to do both. You know, like I'll say right now, sometimes it is hard to ask for help because you feel you need to handle it yourself, or you feel you're a burden on others. You're not. And if some people treat you like you're a burden on asking them, then whatever to them. And the people that do reach out to help you, good for them, and good for you for saying something, which I should have more of the guts to do. But like I say, in the meantime and in between time, have a good day, and I hope I have a good interview coming up soon, or hey, just a good episode in general. I know I'm definitely going to be doing a tribute episode to Steven. I know Viking Samurai did a tribute episode to him, which is great. And also to say for his comments about Steven and more of his bullshit, Freddie Prinze Jr., go fuck yourself. And have a good night.